Massive cleanup efforts are underway from Hurricane Matthew.
Hurricane Florence is making landfall after thrashing the Carolinas all night long with devastating flooding and damaging winds.
The storm may have passed, but the suffering it brought is far from over.
There's not much you can do when water comes in like that, except sit there and just pray. People don't see what we actually live through every day. They come by and think it's still normal. Living separate from my husband for a year, because we can't live in the same place because there's just not enough room, and it's very stressful on your families. I live it every day. I come out here every day and I sit and I cry because I'm home, but I can't come in and live because you can't do it. I have to come out here every day and relive it every day.
When I'm back in the state, I spend a lot of my time in the areas that were hit by the storms, and the stories they tell are heartbreaking. People that have been out of their homes for almost 2 years, families that are having to live in 2 different places, and we need to help them.
One of the hardest hit places was Bluff.
The folks here were just devastated. It was like a third world country when the first storm hit. You're talking about entire neighborhoods. This entire street we've just ridden on, every home has been abandoned.
It sits here molding and mildewing. We just are looking, hoping and praying that we don't have another hurricane.
We have several storms or weather events every year. We had people waiting for a buyout check for the last hurricane before we had another one 2 years later.
So when Hurricane Matthew hit, we left, and by the time we left, the water had already risen to the point where it was almost covering the tires of the vehicles. We didn't know if we were going to actually be able to get out, but we did. We made it to some friends' homes. After Matthew, we had a plan that we would rebuild and move back here. When Florence came, it completely shocked us. And I think as a mother, one of the hardest things is trying to explain to your children that they've lost everything.
After the hurricane, within days, which I hated to leave, I flew up to D.C., met with Senator Tillis.
Days before the hurricane made landfall, we were already working with congressional leaders and appropriators and disaster relief to figure out how we could quickly get the resources on the ground.
They were allocating money. They were going to work getting us money.
Within a couple of weeks, we had over $230 million in the pipeline for recovery.
CBGDR funding, the Community Block Grant Disaster Relief funding, is crucial for these people here. This is what these people have been waiting on.
Wasted time and wasted money after Hurricane Matthew changed people's lives.
A new report out today shows mistakes and mismanagement after the hurricane hit North Carolina back in 2016, causing catastrophic flooding. More than 2 years later, some people are still looking for help.
The state, after a year and a half, has only spent about 7% of the money we've already appropriated.
We've been marketed as a slow spender, and that's not due to the federal government. Federal government has been awesome. Our representatives, our senators have done everything they can. We're pleading. I'm making a plea right now to the governor and his administration.
There is a lot of work that has already been done to get people relief as soon as possible.
But what's the timeline? Are we talking days, weeks, months? I mean, the folks have heard it's coming as soon as possible. A year ago you said it's coming as soon as possible. So when can people expect to start seeing CDBG-DR money flowing to Columbus County?
They deserve relief as soon as possible.
But what does that mean?
Well,
money has taken too long to get to people. State employees inexperienced at dealing with this caused delays in funding going out. And because of non-compliant contracts, the state spent $3.7 million unnecessarily.
Our chief concern is that the state government has had this money on account for 500 days. The needs have been there for longer than that. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. We intend to file legislation that will streamline the process for the future disasters that will occur across the country. We've got to move more quickly, provide homeowners and businesses with more certainty, and our bill is focused on just that.
This is the one house, we have one house since both storms that has been placed. A single wide mobile home. And this is what you got to do to have a single wide mobile home in Bluff now. It's got to be put 8 foot in the air.
You're looking at a 4 to 5 year process the way it's set up now. You got people that's been out of their residence for 3 years.
We need to get over this. It's hurricane season again. The state of North Carolina, we can do better than this in North Carolina.
We still have to pay a mortgage on this house during the whole ordeal. You can't just walk away from this. You have to maintain your mortgage, and we have to pay thousands of dollars each year to try and maintain a home that we can't live in. It's so far-reaching. People never ever understand, oh, you lost your home, I'm so sorry. It's not just that.
There are very clearly obstacles that we want to remove. We're not trying to find fault with any one government agency. What we're trying to do is come up with a solution. The solution is getting the money to the local communities as quickly as possible. But the reality is we're going to work with state and local governments, FEMA, and HUD to figure out how we get the money into the hands of those who desperately need the resources for recovery.
I just want to be home as a family. That's what we want.